Hello friends, I am Professor D.G. Trivedi going to teach you electromagnetic waves lecture number 8 in PH 6503. We have already taken 2 to 3 lectures in electromagnetics and particularly an electromagnetic wave, EM waves. Now this is the point 6.3, energy flux in a plane wave. What is energy flux in a plane wave means? Flux means something which is coming out through the surfaces. That is called a flux. So energy flux means energy which is coming out through some surface. So if we consider that there is some volume is bounded by some surface. Inside that volume, if there is a electrical charge will be there which are moving with the velocity v. It means that there is a dynamic electric field is also there as well as the magnetic field is also there, which are time varying electric field and time varying magnetic field is going to be produced. When they leave the surface and propagate as electromagnetic waves, that means with that energy is also radiated, and E cross H, that is equal to N, which is known as the Poynting vector. Because the Poynting was the scientist who invented this, that is nothing but the cross product of the electric field, which is a function of R and T, and the magnetic field H, which is also a function of R and T, which are radiated from the surfaces. And with that, the energy is also radiated. And N is equal to E cross H represents the rate at which energy is radiated across unit area per second. So this is known as a Poynting vector. So per second, amount of energy crossing through the unit area of the cross section per second is your Poynting vector. And now we are interested to calculate this average value of this Poynting vector. E and H are very harmonical with time, and here E and H are expressed as a complex amplitudes. So we'll calculate here for E cross H for a plane wave. Plane wave is a simple and a specific case of general waves. So we'll consider that electromagnetic waves are going to be propagate in x directions, and we'll calculate the E cross H, that is nothing but the instantaneous energy flow from unit area of the cross section. And if we take the average value of this, that means we have to take the average value of E and H over complete period of oscillations. So this we are going to calculate mathematically. We'll go to the step by step here. So we'll starting with this 6.3, energy flux in a plane wave. We have shown in the preceding chapter that the Poynting vector N is equal to E cross H represents the rate at which the energy is radiated across unit area. We shall now show how the Poynting vector is calculated for a plane wave, in which the field vector E and H are expressed in terms of complex amplitudes. The vector N is equal to E cross H gives the instantaneous rate of energy flow, because this is a function of R and T, time also. And it may be the sine or cosine waves. So omega t will be there. Since the vector E and H vary harmonically with time, the average energy flow can be found by taking the average value of N is equal to E cross H over a complete period of oscillations of the electric field and magnetic field. And that can be represented by this symbol, that is the symbol for the average value of N is equal to average value of the RE E cross REH, where RE stands for real part of the electric field amplitudes, and this represents the real part of magnetic field amplitude of complex quantity, where Re stands for the real part. Since E and H are assumed to be the complex quantity, we can express them in this form. So here we can say that E is equal to E1 plus IE2. That is a magnitude which is going to be followed by the phase factor e raised to minus I omega t. And similarly, the magnetic field H is equal to H1 plus IH2 e raised to minus I omega t. So this way, the electric field and magnetic field are represented as a complex quantities in terms of E1 plus E2. E1, E2, H1 and H2 are real. So we can expand. We know that e raised to I theta is equal to cos theta plus I sin theta, and e raised to minus I theta, that is equal to cos theta minus I sin theta. That we can substitute here, and we'll find out the real part of the electric field as well as the real part of the magnetic field. So here E is equal to E1 plus IE2 e raised to minus I omega t. This we can expand as a cos omega t minus I sin omega t, and that is going to be multiplied with this one. So E1, and that is second term, is going to be cos omega t. So E1 cos omega t will be there. Then IE2 minus sin omega t, and minus sin omega t into I, that means minus I square E2 sin omega t. So minus I square is equal to plus 1, which indicate that the second term is going to be E2 sin omega t. Third term is E1 minus I cos omega t. And similarly, there is a fourth term will be there, that is going to be minus I E2 cos omega t. So out of these four terms, there are two terms which is going to be the imaginary terms, which contains the I. So we are not interested. We are only interested in the real part of the electric field. And that means the real part of the electric field, that means without I, there are two other terms which is going to be there. And that is the real part of the electric field is going to be E1 cos omega t plus E2 sin omega t. So this is the real part of the complex quantity of electric field. Similar things we can obtain for the magnetic field H. H is equal to H1 plus IH2 cos omega t minus I sin omega t. And by expanding this, we get the real part, that is the real part of H is equal to H1 cos omega t plus H2 sin omega t. So that way we obtain the real part of E and real part of H. Here E1, E2, H1 and H2 are vector quantities. Cos omega t and sin omega t are the scalar quantity. We want to take the cross product of this one because we want to calculate the Poynting vector n, and the Poynting vector n is equal to the instantaneous Poynting vector n is equal to the real part of E cross real part of H, that is equal to the Poynting vector n. So we have to take the cross product of this two terms. That means here there are two terms, cross there are two terms. So this is going to be multiplied with these two terms as well as this is going to be multiplied with these two terms. So we are going to obtain four different terms. The first term is E1 cross H1 into cos omega t into cos omega t, that means cos square omega t. So first term we are getting E1 cross H1 cos square omega t. Similarly, we will get the second term E2 sin omega t cross H2 sin omega t. That means E2 cross H2 sin square omega t, that is going to be the second term. Now the cross multiplication. E1 cross H2 cos omega t sin omega t. And the fourth term E2 cross H1 sin omega t cos omega t. Here sin omega t cos omega t for this last two term is going to be common, which will be taken outside. That means we can say that E1 cross H2 plus E2 cross H1 inside the bracket into sin omega t cos omega t, that is going to be outside the bracket. Now we want to take the average value of n. That means the average value of real part of E cross real part of H that we want to calculate. So we have to take the integration over a complete period of oscillations of this one. Now the integration of sin square omega t or integration of cos square omega t over a period of oscillation for sine wave or cosine wave can be obtained like this. It is a time integration from 0 to capital T. T is the period of oscillation, and integration of sin square omega t into d omega t, and which is going to be divided by 1 upon t, and that comes out to be 1 half for either it is going to be cos square omega t or sin square omega t. So the time average integration of cos square omega t or sin square omega t is going to be 1 half. Similarly, if we take the complete average value of sin omega t cos omega t over a complete period, then it comes out to be 0. So that is, we can substitute here. So this bracket multiplied by sin average value of sin omega t cos omega t, which is going to be 0, and hence this terms will be cancelled out because it is going to be 0, which remains these two terms. Here E1 cross H1 cos square omega t plus E2 cross H2 sin square omega t will be remains, and average value of cos square omega t is going to be 1 half, average value of sin square omega t is going to be 1 half. So that 1 half will be common. So we can write down now, therefore the average value of Re cross E, Re electric field cross real part of the magnetic field H, that is equal to 1 half, which is going to be common from here as well as here. Inside the bracket E1 cross H1 plus E2 cross H2, this is our equation 6.38. So this way we can calculate the Poynting vector now n, average value of the Poynting vector n of real part of E cross real part of H. This we are going to calculate in terms of Poynting vector other way around. So now the second part of this one is this. Let us compute the real part of E cross H star. H star is nothing but the complex conjugate of H. So we can write down here E is equal to the same thing, E1 plus IE2 e raised to minus I omega t. But what is complex conjugate of H star? H, that is going to be H star, that we can obtain by reversing the sign of I to minus I. So we can say that here H1 minus I H2 e raised to plus I omega t, that is going to be H star will be there. So we can substitute this value for E and H star here. So now let us compute the real part of E cross H star. The electric field E is equal to the same thing, E1 plus IE2 e raised to minus I omega t. That can be expanded like this. E1 plus IE2 into e raised to minus I omega t is nothing but cos omega t minus I sin omega t. Similarly, H star is equal to H1 minus IH2. I is replaced by minus I. And here also, so here it becomes plus e raised to plus I omega t. And that means H1 minus IH2 cos omega t plus I sin omega t. Here also you see the sign, it becomes plus now because e raised to I theta instead of e raised to minus I theta. So it becomes plus. So now we are interested in a real part of E cross H star. Now, so how many terms will be here? If we expand this one, E1, which is going to be multiplied with the cos omega t, as well as minus I sine omega t, and minus I e2, which is going to be multiplied again with the cos omega t and minus I sine omega t. That means the upper part, which is having a 4 terms. Similarly, the lower part for the magnetic field also, H1 is going to be multiplied with cos omega t plus I sine omega t, and minus IH2 is going to be multiplied with cos omega t plus I sine omega t. That means here also there are 4 terms will be there. So total for these equations, for E, there are 4 terms will be there, and similarly for the magnetic field H star also there will be 4 terms. And if we take the cross multiplication of this E cross H star, how many terms will be there? 4 multiplied by 4, that is going to be total 16 terms will be there. This is a complex quantity. Hence, out of the 16 terms, 8 terms will be the real terms and 8 terms will be the imaginary terms. So here you have to remember that whenever you multiply the real part with the real part, you will get the real part. Similarly, when you multiply imaginary part with the real imaginary part, again you are going to get the real part only, because I into I, that is going to be I square, and I square is equal to minus 1. So that way you are going to remove that I, and that way you are going to get the real part. So real multiplied with the real terms as well as imaginary terms multiplied with the imaginary terms, you will get the real terms. Real terms multiplied with the imaginary terms, you will get the imaginary terms. So out of the 16 terms, 8 terms will be the real terms and 8 terms will be the imaginary terms. Here we want to compute only the real part of E cross H star. That means we are interested in the real terms of E cross H star, and that means we are interested in 8 terms. So we get this 8 terms by multiplying each of the upper terms with the lower 4 terms. That means we find out E1 cross H1 cos square omega t plus E1 cross H2 cos omega t sin omega t, that is going to be the second term. Third term plus E2 cross H2 cos square omega t minus E2 cross H1 cos omega t sin omega t minus E1 cross H2 cos omega t sin omega t plus E1 cross H1 sin square omega t plus E2 cross H1 cos omega t sin omega t plus E2 cross H2 sin square omega t. So these two terms, these two terms, these two terms, and these two terms. There are 4 rows, and each row there are 2 terms. That means these are the 8 real terms we obtained of E cross H star. Remaining 8 terms was the imaginary terms. I am interested that each of the student should do them this and obtain these terms by themselves. Okay, so please do this work. And now you have to see here in this 8 terms, E1 cross H2 cos omega t sin omega t, this is with the plus sign. Similarly here on a third row, the first term minus E1 cross H2 cos omega t sin omega t. These two, both the terms are going to be the same, but this is with the plus sign and this is going to be with the negative sign. So addition of these two terms will be cancelled out, or it is going to be 0. So E1 cross H2 cos omega t sin omega t, that is going to be cancelled out. Second term in the first row and the first term in the third row, that is going to be cancelled out. Similar things is going to be happening here. Minus E2 cross H1 cos omega t sin omega t. That is in a second row, second term, as well as in the fourth row, the first term, plus E2 cross H1. You can see that this as well as this one, cos omega t sin omega t. These two terms are also same. One with the negative sign, other one with the positive sign. They are equal in magnitude and hence they will be cancelled out, because that summation is going to be 0. So we have remained the remaining 4 terms. Now you see these terms, E1 cross H1 cos square omega t, the first term in a first row, and second term in the third row, plus E1 cross H1 sin square omega t. Here also E1 cross H1, here also E1 cross H1. So that is going to be common. So we can take them out common for these two terms, and we can write down inside the bracket cos square omega t plus sin square omega t. And you know that cos square omega t plus sin square omega t is equal to 1. So these two terms can be combined, and we can write this is nothing but E1 cross H1 only for these two terms. Similarly, in a second row, the first term E2 cross H2 cos square omega t, and in a third row, second term, in a third row, in a fourth row, second term, E2 cross H2 sin square omega t. So in a second row, the first term, and in the fourth row, the second term, E2 cross H2 cos square omega t, E2 cross H2 sin square omega t. By addition of these two, we get that E2 cross H2 is going to be common inside the bracket cos square omega t plus sin square omega t, which is going to be 1. So the resultant one is going for these two terms will be E2 cross H2. That means finally we are getting the real part of E cross H star is equal to E1 cross H1 plus E2 cross H2. So this way we have obtained the equation 6.39. Now we can substitute this value in our above equation, that is the average value of N is equal to the average value of real part of the electric field cross real part of the magnetic field H, that is equal to 1/2. Because what is this real part of this one is equal to? You can see here in the previous equations that this is equal to 1/2 E1 cross H1 plus E2 cross H2 1/2. 1/2 is going to be common. So whatever the equations we have obtained here, the half value of this one is nothing but the average value of N or average value of RE, real part of E cross real part of H. So that we can substitute. So 1/2 the real part of E cross H star, that is the equation 6.14, which we can write that this is nothing but the average value of Poynting vector N, that is equal to 1/2 the real part of E cross real part H star, E cross H star. Now since the time factors are automatically cancelled in this product, the time average energy can be obtained from the field vectors. So the relations between the propagation vector k, the electric field vector E, and the magnetic field vector H we obtain in 6.1. That is nothing but k cross E is equal to mu omega into vector H, which indicate that H is perpendicular to the vector k also, as well as it is perpendicular to the vector E also. And k cross E is in the direction of H will be there. That means it follows the right hand screw rule, and it forms the right hand orthogonal set that we have seen in this previous lectures, which indicate that these electromagnetic waves are perpendicular to each other, and they are transverse in the character, and they are propagating in the direction perpendicular to the plane which is containing the electric field and magnetic field vector, which are perpendicular to each other also. So in that case, equation 6.22 we have obtained this one, which gives the relations. That means k cross E we can substitute in the form of H, or H we can put in the terms of k and E, electric field. So what will be the H star will be there? H star is going to be k cross E star upon mu omega, which is a scalar quantity which we can divide with this one. So we can obtain the complex conjugate of the magnetic field H is equal to k cross E star upon mu omega. That is the way equation 6.41 can be obtained. Now we are interested E cross H star here. So we will take the product of cross product of E cross H star. Therefore E cross H star is equal to this 1 upon mu omega scalar quantity which is taken outside, and inside the bracket E cross H star. That means E cross inside again bracket k cross E star. So this is nothing but all the three vectors are cross product. Cross multiplication is going to be there. Vector product of the three vectors E cross K cross E star. We can utilize the vector identity here. That is A cross B cross C. Here it is nothing but B into A dot C minus C into A dot B. That means the middle vector comes with the positive sign and its coefficient is nothing but the dot product of the remaining two vectors. So that way we get the first terms, separation of this one. The middle vector is k here, the propagation vector k. So k is coming outside and its coefficient is dot product of the remaining two vectors e and e star. So that is nothing but by taking the dot product of this e dot e star, we get the coefficient for the vector k. Similarly, other vectors comes with the negative sign. So E star with the negative sign minus E star, and its coefficient is the dot product of E and K. So E dot K. Now you see here, E is the electric field vector and K is the propagation vector. That electric field vector is always perpendicular to the direction of propagation. Magnetic field vector is always perpendicular to the direction of propagation. Hence, we can say that dot product of the two perpendicular vector is going to be 0. So this part E dot K is going to be 0 multiplied by E star, that is going to be 0. So this term is going to be 0 here. Remains 1 upon mu omega into E dot E star. Now E is the, if we take this, these two vectors are parallel to each other. So we can say that the dot product of these two, cos 0 is going to be 1. So the magnitude of E into magnitude of E star, which is going to be the same, which we can say that E0. So E dot E star is equal to E0 modulus of E0 square. That is indicating the magnitude of vector E is going to be E0. So modulus of E0 square will be there into 1 upon mu omega into the propagation vector k will be there. The propagation vector k can be written as the magnitude of vector k into unit vector in the direction of propagation, and unit vector in the direction of propagation, if we write, it is going to be ek caret. Now what is the magnitude of k? This is nothing but the dispersion relation for the electromagnetic waves. What is the dispersion relations? K is the propagation vector, is nothing but omega upon v. Omega is the angular frequency and v is nothing but the phase velocity of electromagnetic waves in a given medium. And hence we can say that k is equal to magnitude of vector k is equal to omega upon v, and 1 upon v is equal to mu epsilon raised to 1/2. So that we can substitute for this one. So omega into mu epsilon raised to 1/2, that is the value of vector k will be there. And here there is a omega mu will be there. So omega into mu epsilon raised to 1/2, here omega and numerator and denominator will be cancelled out. Remains mu epsilon upon mu. Mu will be taken inside this bracket. That means it becomes mu square because the total bracket, that power is going to be 1/2. So one of the mu will be cancelled out. That means epsilon upon mu will be there. So this is nothing but the average value of n is equal to E0 square upon 2 mu omega magnitude of vector k into ek caret, that is equal to modulus of E0 square divided by 2, because this is going to be divided by 2, and hence it comes to this pointing vector n is equal to E0 square divided by 2 epsilon upon mu raised to 1/2 ek caret. That way we have obtained the relations for a average value of pointing vector n in terms of the magnitude of electric field vector E0. That is the equation 6.42, which is also written over here. Hence the magnitude of n over the period of oscillations, that means average value of the pointing vector n is equal to E0 square divided by 2 epsilon upon mu raised to 1/2 ek caret. Ek caret is the unit vector in the direction of propagation. Hence, this expression is given here. Therefore, K is equal to magnitude of vector K into Ek caret, where Ek caret is the unit vector in the direction of propagation, and K is equal to omega upon V. Hence, omega into 1 upon V is equal to mu epsilon raised to 1/2. This was substituted in this one, and we obtain this resultant value for 6.42. So this is the second portion of this unit. This particular topic is going to be there. Now we consider that electromagnetic waves are propagating in the x directions. That means the electric field and magnetic field are in a plane normal to the x directions, that is going to be YZ plane, that you can see in this figure 6.4. Electromagnetic waves are going to be propagating in along this direction, that is going to be x directions. So let us assume that electric field is along the y direction, and perpendicular to that the magnetic field H will be there, it is in a z directions will be there. And when the electromagnetic waves are going to be propagating, we can consider that with that the energy is also going to be flowing, and it is also going to be propagating with along with the electromagnetic waves. So let us assume now that there is a rectangular box we have taken here, and the length of the box along the x direction is going to be the c. Small c is the length of the box along x direction. A is nothing but the breadth along the y directions, and B is nothing but the height along the z directions of this box. So A, B and C are the dimension of the box, and that will give you the volume of the box. Now we are interested to calculate the time average energy inside this box. So first we will find out what is the total energy inside the box there, because of the electric field as well as magnetic field. Because we know that with the electric field there is a energy is related with this one is equal to 1/2 E dot d tau, and similarly for the magnetic field it is going to be B dot H will be there of d tau of volume integrations. That way we know that electromagnetic energy is related with the electromagnetic fields is nothing but E dot d plus B dot H into 1/2, and that is called electromagnetic energy density, which we have already studied in a previous chapter. That electromagnetic energy density is given by 1/2 E dot d plus B dot H. And because it is going to be time average, and it is also a function of distance from this to the x with respect to x and t, hence it is going to be different, or it is continuously distributed inside the box. So we have to take the volume integration of this electromagnetic energy density over the total volume of the box. So we'll find out what is the total energy inside the box will be there. So if the wave is moving in the x direction, the energy flow is in the x direction and is the same at all points for which z coordinate is going to be the same. Figure 6.4 shows a rectangular box with length c along the x-axis in the direction of propagation, and A and B being its other two sides, that is the breadth and height. The energy density and the electromagnetic field is equal to 1/2 E dot d plus B dot H. Hence the total energy given in the box, that is nothing but the volume integration over the box, that is of 1/2 E dot d plus B dot H electromagnetic energy density over entire box d tau, that is the volume elements we have taken. That is the equation 6.43. So this way we can find out what is the total energy inside the box because of the electromagnetic waves contained inside the box. So this we can calculate here. Electric field, we consider that it is in the y directions, and hence the magnetic field will be in the z directions. So we can write for the equation for the electric field and magnetic field like this way, because they are going to be complex quantity. electric field is along the y directions. So E is equal to Ey caret is the unit vector in the y direction. Then E0 e raised to I, which is a function of kx and t. Hence, it is going to be kx minus omega t. That is the phase factor of the electric field. So the electric field along the y directions can be represented like this. Ey caret E0 e raised to I kx minus omega t. And if we take the real part of this, e raised to I theta is equal to cos theta plus I sin theta. Real part of this is going to be cos theta. So cos omega t will be there. So this is equal to Ey caret E0 cos kx minus omega t is the real part of the electric field. Similarly, the magnetic field H is equal to Ez caret H0 e raised to I kx minus omega t, and real part of it is nothing but Ez caret H0 cos kx minus omega t. Now, this value of E and H we can substitute in our previous equation to calculate the total energy inside the box. U is equal to 1 half E dot D plus B dot H. Now, what is D is equal to? D is equal to epsilon E. So, we can say that epsilon into E dot E, that is equal to magnitude of E square. Similarly, here also B dot H is equal to, B is equal to mu H. So mu into H dot H, that is nothing but the magnitude of H square. So that we can substitute in this integration, and we will evaluate this integration along x direction, along y direction, and along z direction. So this volume integration we will convert it into 3 line integrations along x directions, y direction, and z direction. Therefore, by substituting this one in our previous equation, the total energy inside the box U is equal to 1 half. The line integration along the x direction 0 to C, along the y direction 0 to A, and along the z direction 0 to B. Epsilon 0 E0 square, taking the square of this one, E dot E is equal to amplitude of E square, that is equal to epsilon 0 into E0 square cos square kx minus omega t. That way we are getting the E square, magnitude of E square, plus the second term B dot H, that is equal to mu 0 into magnitude of H square, that is going to be H0 square cos square kx minus omega t, and integration along the x, y, z directions. So dx, dy, dz. These terms as well as this term, they are independent of y and z. So integration from 0 to a of dy is equal to y, and limit is going to be from 0 to a. So it is going to be y, and a minus 0, that is going to be a. Similarly, for this one, the integration from 0 to b dz is going to be b. So these two integrations can come out to be the magnitude of a into b, that is the breadth and height divided by this 2 will be there, and line integration along x direction 0 to c, epsilon 0 E0 square cos square kx minus omega t plus mu 0 H0 square cos square kx minus omega t into dx. So this way we get the line integration along x direction. This part is cos theta is depending upon x and t. Now this is the instantaneous total energy inside the box. So we are interested to find out the time average energy inside the box. And to get the time average energy inside the box, we have to take the average value of this instantaneous energy inside the box over a complete period of oscillations. And t is the period of oscillation, capital T is the period of oscillation. We can take the integration from 0 to capital T and divide by t of this expression again. If t is the period of oscillations, the average energy inside the box that we can calculate, or that we can substitute like this one. This is the symbol for average value of the total energy inside the box. This U is the instantaneous energy, instantaneous total energy inside the box. So we have to take this line integration AB upon 2 capital T, integration over the period of time 0 to capital T. line integration from 0 to c along x-axis. Epsilon 0 E0 square cos square kx minus omega t plus mu 0 h0 square cos square kx minus omega t. This integration over the x coordinates as well as time coordinates. So first we'll take the integration along the time coordinates. So the integration of cos square kx minus omega t over complete period of oscillations is equal to 1 half. Hence, we can find out that we can substitute here AB upon 2 as it is, and that integration over the time or periodic time 0 to t is going to be 1 half. So epsilon 0 is 0 square into integration of cos square kx minus omega t over period of oscillation is going to be 1 half. That is going to be find out here 1 half plus this integration again for cos square kx minus omega t, that is going to be 1 half. So it is going to be here mu 0 h0 square into 1 half into dx. Now we have to take the integration over the x. These terms are independent of x. So integration of this one 0 to c of dx is equal to x, and x varies from 0 to c, so it comes to c. So this can be reduced to the equation 6.44 like this: AB into C, because integration from 0 to C, divided by this 1 half is going to be common, it can be taken out, so it is going to be divided by 4. Inside the bracket, epsilon 0 E0 square plus mu 0 H0 square. ABC is the volume of the box. So if this is nothing but the time average energy, total energy inside the box is going to be this. If it is divided by volume of the box ABC, then it is nothing but the time average energy density inside the box we can obtain. Now that is the way equation 6.44 can be obtained. Now therefore the time average energy density associated with the wave that we are going to calculate like this one. So the time average energy density, which is designated as UD, D is nothing but density. So time average energy density inside the box is equal to 1 by 4 E dot D star plus B dot H star. That is equal to 1 by 4 epsilon E square plus mu H square. E and D star is equal to epsilon E star, and E dot E star, that is going to be is square, and hence we can say that this is equal to E dot T star is equal to epsilon magnitude of E square. Similarly, B dot H star is equal to mu into H dot H star, that is equal to mu into magnitude of H square, which we can separate here. This is equal to 1 by 4 epsilon magnitude of E0 square. For this one, magnitude of E square, magnitude of E is equal to E0. So it is going to be modulus of E0 square plus B is equal to mu into H. So mu into, we can write H in terms of K and E. So K cross E is equal to mu omega H. So K cross E upon mu omega, that is equal to H, and for H star, K cross E star upon mu omega. Dot product of this two, perpendicular vector. So AB is sine theta, and sine 90 is going to be 1. So magnitude of A into magnitude of B. That means magnitude of K into magnitude of E. Similarly here also, the magnitude of K into magnitude of E. So magnitude of K is equal to K square. E is equal to E0 square, like this. And K square is equal to, from the previous, this is the propagation vector, magnitude of propagation vector K is equal to omega upon V. So omega square upon V square, that is equal to omega square into mu epsilon. If we substitute here, magnitude of K square is equal to omega square into mu epsilon, we can say that this mu and this mu is going to be cancelled out, another mu and this mu is going to be cancelled out, omega square is going to be cancelled out, and we'll find out that the second term is going to be converted into the same thing like a first term, epsilon into modulus of E0 square. So this is equal to, reduced to 1 by 4 inside the bracket epsilon into modulus of E0 square, plus this is going to be reduced to epsilon into modulus of E0 square, that is equal to epsilon upon This is 2 times. So if it is taken outside, 2 upon 4, that is going to be half. So 1 half epsilon is 0 square. Now, this value of time average energy density we can substitute in our previous equation of average value of the Poynting vector n over complete period of oscillations. That is equal to, that was, we have already derived 1 half epsilon upon mu raised to 1 half ek caret into E0 square. Now, this is our previous equation like this. Here, 6.42. This is that equation already we have derived. This equation is here now. In this equation, if we multiplied epsilon in numerator and denominator inside the bracket it becomes epsilon square raised to 1 half, that is going to be epsilon, and upon mu epsilon raised to 1 half, and mu epsilon raised to 1 half is nothing but 1 upon mu epsilon raised to 1 half is nothing but the phase velocity v, and this becomes 1 half epsilon or epsilon by 2 into E0 square, that is nothing but your energy density. So that can be substituted here. So this is equal to time average energy density inside the box ud into mu epsilon raised to minus 1 half, which is nothing but the phase velocity of the wave. Ek caret is the unit vector in the direction of propagation. So this is equal to V into average value of time average energy density inside the box into Ek caret. That is the way equation 6.46 we can obtain. What is this represents? This shows that time average energy flow is in the direction of propagation of the wave and is equal to the phase velocity of the wave multiplied by the average energy density ud. The energy therefore flows with the same velocity as the wave itself. This is the conclusions of this one. That means this shows that the time average energy flow is in the direction of propagation because it is flowing in the direction of Ek caret is in the direction of propagation. And this magnitude of this time average energy density, that is the average value of the Poynting vector h, which we have calculated, is a product of these two terms. The phase velocity of v into time average energy density is going to be there. So that means the conclusion is this. This shows that the time average energy flow is in the direction of propagation of the wave and is equal to the phase velocity of the wave, that is v, multiplied by the average energy density, that is going to be average value of ud. The energy, therefore, the energy is flowing along the direction of propagation with the wave itself. That means electromagnetic waves are propagating in whichever direction of the propagation Ek caret. The energy is also flowing in the same direction with this magnitude, and simultaneously we can say that. So this is called the energy flux in the direction of propagation for a plane wave. Thank you very much, friends.